Alright, now it's front brake time. First thing we're going to do, get our socket on back here, take the brake line off so we can replace the caliper. This is a 5/8 socket that's stuck on the nut. Come on off of there. There we go. Screw that guy off of there. And she still had a little bit of fluid in her. It's actually surprising. Set that down there. And then there's two more 5/8 bolts. Don't take these ones out, they don't gain you anything. That's going to be instinct to do that, because on most modern brakes you take something apart here and this comes out. But on these, this is all one assembly on both sides. Having the wheel turned helps a lot at this point. That one's loose. That one's loose. Be a metal retaining bracket that holds your brake line kind of in place also back there, you're going to want to reuse. Alright, we'll see if we can speed this up a little. There's one of them. And there's the other one. That's the retaining bracket. You want to take note of how it mounts in there to put it back in afterwards. It kind of keeps the brake line in check of where it's supposed to be. And now that guy comes off. Brake pad's mounted inside of it. Then this little metal rods go through to hold this retaining clip that keeps it all kind of together. Set that down there. Now we got to take this hub off. I'm going to take a wire brush. This is nasty around here. And kind of clean this up before I take that apart, so I'm not knocking any bad things down into the bearings any more than necessary. Okay. Grab a hold of that and get a little bit of a twist out of there. There we go. And there we are. Somebody's been here before. The non-factory issue finishing nail. Why, guys? Why, guys? Why? And then they had it bent over, so it was rubbing on the inside of this, making metal shards, which really help keep things nice. Cotter pins. They're cheap. Why would you use nail? Yep, that'd be a finish nail. Alright. There we go, 15/16 is the mark. You can tell that was really tight. See, I'm taking it off with my fingers. Guys off of there. Got a little washer in here, which would be nice to get out ahead of time. You don't lose him. There he is. We'll set him down there. You got some bearings in there. A seal on the back side. Everything appears to be sealing and such. And we'll take this over to the workbench. Take these 4 bolts out to remove the brake rotor. Alright, now we're over at the workbench here. We'll run these bolts out. Careful not to drop it onto my nice fender here. Alright. Now this whole assembly pulls out of there. This car had been sandblasted, and there's quite a bit of sand in here and around the other piece. We're going to clean that up before we go back together. So we'll get rid of this. Now, they recommend the set of rotors I got came with replacement bolts for here. They're recommending you use their bolts, and that's due to different depths in here in the way they made the rotors, whether they're longer or shallow, that way to make sure that everything's seated. So you want to use the bolts that come with your rotor, or make sure that the bolts you're using are sufficient, that they're not bottoming out and not holding this tight. And are of a proper grade, that they don't shear off. And if this isn't connected to the hub, it doesn't stop you anymore. So we'll clean up that hub and we'll be back. Alright, we got our new hub, or our new rotor. Set it up in here. A lot longer bolts. If you want to do wheel bearings, this is a good time. These ones seem to be okay, so we're not going to. Hand start these to make sure we don't cross a thread. Wiggling stuff around, make sure it settles. I did clean the back of this mating surface so that don't have to worry about that any. And while I was cleaning things, we took a minute and repacked this bearing a little bit. There's probably a torque setting for this. Fairly confident that hit it. Alright, so now we'll take this over and put it back on the car. Alright, we cleaned this off around here some. We got a little bit laying in the dust shroud. Do that and that gets rid of that. Now there's a center bushing in between the 2 bearings that you got to make sure that everything lines up when you put this together. We put a little bit of grease on the seal on the back as well to re-lubricate it. Alright, that's set back into place. We'll take our washer, reinstall it up against the face there. Our nut. Clean it off a little bit. Looks like somebody took it on and off with a chisel once. They probably didn't have a 15/16 socket. That's probably why it wasn't tight. we don't want his play this way. We're just gonna go until we can get a cotter pin through one of those castles. It's right there. Everything feels firm. It's not too tight that it's binding. We'll get us a cotter pin. Look at that. Was that really that hard? You put one of those in there. I just bend it around. Doing this off the side of the camera is a little harder, but look at that. It's in there. We'll bend this side around that way a little bit. I think I can get my pliers in there. And there we go. Take our dust shield. Well, we got to take our finish nail out of there first. Kind of line that up a little bit flat. And just gently tap it on, making sure you're going on square. And our rotor's replaced. Now we'll get our caliper. First we gotta load it, so we'll go back over to the workbench and we'll get the brake pads and everything loaded in it. We have our old one and our new one. So we take these guys, set them down in here, with the pad towards the centers, like so. And this guy, gotta get him the right orientation here, goes down in here, like so. Then these guys, something else to check before you get this far is make sure that your bleeders are in the same spot, because depending on left or right, these will be opposites. But make sure you got that before you get this far. I've already done one side, so the only pieces I have are for the one side. Put a little bit of a squeeze down on that. Slide this up through here. Takes a little bit of wiggling to get this all to go through there, like it's supposed to. Come on now. Won't be difficult just because I have the camera on. There we go. One in. I'm going to take the other side, squeeze these down. Slide this through. And out through this other side. It's going to be difficult. Come on, you. There we go. Bend that up. Come over here, bend this one up. And we'll bend it the rest of the way over. Can hold on to this side. Kind of keep that straight. There we go. Same over here. As long as one of those is bent over, the other one can be straight. It won't hurt nothing. And at this point, this should be ready to reinstall in the car. So we'll head back over there. Alright, back at the car. Slide those over there. Get on the right side of all the heat shields and guards and such. I left the bottom bolt through this so that I would remember the orientation a bit. First it goes through the dust shield hole. And it screws into the spindle. Just like that. Same with this other one. Here, 5/8 again. We'll put it on a ratchet and tighten. Now your car may also have another plate that goes in there with tabs you can bend over to lock these nuts. This one did not, so we're not going to reinstall them. This is going to be a fairly low mileage car. And I'm going to also be having this all back apart to repaint at some point. Just not today. We're going to make it functional, then we'll make it pretty. It's a whole lot easier to figure this stuff out and make sure it all works. And then make it pretty. Same thing, somebody welded in a repair panel in here and has gobs of weld everywhere that I have to grind and clean up and make look better at some point. I need to order a castle nut for here, or see if I have one. And I'm also going to be putting new tie rod ends in because the boots are gone on these ones. But this car has been sitting since 1993, so as far as I can tell. Alright, make sure that's good and tight. That one's good and tight. Now we just need to reinstall our brake hose, which I have a replacement for this one because it's fairly dry rotted, and I believe it's original to the car from 1974. Yeah, there's a 73 date on it. The other reason that we're not going the extra mile to make this car extra pretty is I've made myself a promise that before I paint and finish this car, I'm going to finish the bug eye. Got a rubber plug back here we got to pull out. We've got our nut through the fitting with a brass washer on each side to help it seal. And there's a fork you got to line it up with and that plate that we put on that keeps this in the right angle. And somewhere back here we thread that in. There we go. And then this side, when I get it on the ground, there's just a nut that goes on here that gets threaded off. This gets pushed through. There's two little clips that hold this from spinning. You shove it through, put the nut on it, and hook your line back on. I'm not going to show you folks that because it's pretty self-explanatory. 5/8 again. tighten this guy up. Alrighty, and that in a nutshell is doing a front brake job. It's not real hard. It's a lot more complicated than you'd think it'd be. Or less complicated than you would think it would be. And that's it. The only thing you got to do at this point, once I get this line on, I'm going to be replacing the master cylinder. And at that point, bleed the system. And you're ready to rock and roll. Alrighty.